blog. Okay, so for my creative intervention project, I've chosen to talk about feminism in today's youth culture. Youth culture has been really prevalent in society, especially within the last few decades. It seems to have taken on its own form of media, and I think from studying it we can really learn about our own society. Um, I got really interested in this topic after I was talking to my 12-year-old cousin about some of the things that her and her friends were really interested in. She told me about things like the Jonas Brothers, Miley Cyrus, Hannah Montana, High School Musical, all these things that I'd heard about in the mainstream media but didn't really know that much about. As I started to investigate, I saw that on the surface, these things appear to have a really good message. They seem very family friendly and something that parents would want their children to be hearing. But as I began to look more closely, I realized that some of these messages are maybe not what we want our children and teens to hear, particularly in regards to feminist ideals. I want to examine the Jonas Brothers, Miley Cyrus, and the Chris Brown and Rihanna incident that happened a few weeks ago. And I want to see what are the positive and negative aspects of the messages as they're being portrayed to teen culture. I also want to investigate how these things are talked about and portrayed in the media. The article How to Reclaim, Reframe, and Reform the Media by Jennifer Posner really talks about this. And it talks about how we have to be critical of how the media is portraying these things and what that tells us about the society that we do live in. But most importantly, I want to talk about how preteens and teens have been socialized to interpret the message that they see. So I want to see how they're reacting to what they're seeing and how they're interpreting it themselves. So first I want to investigate the impact that the Jonas Brothers have on preteen culture.
I'm hot, you're cold, you go around like you know who I am, but you don't. You got me on my toes. I'm slipping and sipping lava, and I'm trying to keep from going under. Baby, you don't push it harder, 'cause I'm burning up, I told you I made dinner plans for you and me.
Okay, so now I want to talk about the positive aspects of the Jonas Brothers. I saw this lecture last year here at Queen's, actually. It was an open lecture, and it was about women in the music industry, and it was talking about how in the past, bands that young girls have been really interested in have been bands that are not highly respected by the music industry. Examples could be boy bands like the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, and bands that are really considered to be only bubblegum pop and have no musical worth. And these are the bands that girls have always traditionally been grown up with and listened to when they were younger, whereas boys who are the same age would listen to respected bands including AC/DC and the Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin, and bands that have always been really respected, and that in a way that's kind of repressing women and saying that their opinions of music are not as important as the male view of different musical genres. So one thing that the Jonas Brothers have actually done is they're actually, considering the fact that they are a Disney band, they're well respected within the community, the music community. A few examples of this are that last year, after their new CD came out a little bit longer, it was rated 4 stars by the Rolling Stone magazine, which is obviously a really respected magazine in the music community. And people were calling Nick Jonas, the 16-year-old who writes most of the songs, a child prodigy, and saying that he has extremely good musical ability. Another thing, they've worked with a lot of really legitimate musicians. At the 2009 Grammy Awards that just passed in February, they performed with Stevie Wonder, who's obviously a really respected artist in the community, and they're coming out with a rap collaboration with a respected rapper that's expected out on their new CD. And they've also been learning about producing their own music. So it's clear that this band it's not just a bubblegum pop band, it really is music that is being respected by the general community, and I think that that's a really good thing for girls who can look back and they don't have to be ashamed of listening to this music that they are. They can see that it was a legitimate band that was respected by the community, so they don't need to feel ashamed of that when they're older. I know that in my personal experience, I grew up listening to the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, and I can definitely relate to the idea of them being not being legitimate bands, because nowadays I wouldn't consider them to be a good band to listen to. I wouldn't consider them to be good music. But, so I can definitely see where that's coming from, and I think that that's one thing that Jonas Brothers have, definitely are inadvertently empowering young women in that way.
If the heart is always searching, can you ever find a home? I've been looking for that someone. I'll never make it on my own. Dreams can take the place of loving you. There's gotta be a million reasons why it's true. When you look me in the eyes and tell me that you love me, everything's alright. When you're right here by my side, when you look me in the eyes, I catch a glimpse of heaven. I find my paradise when you look me in the eyes. How long will I be waiting?
Alright, so we just looked at some quotes from the Jonas Brothers. Now I kind of want to go through and I want to talk about why I don't think some of those quotes are the best message to be sending to young, impressionable girls, and also why I think it's kind of a problem that some parents will assume that the Jonas Brothers are, they really fit their initial sort of appearance of being the all-American, clean-cut, and good role models for young girls. So the first quote that we looked at was the quote about who should pay on a date. And the Jonas Brothers said that under no circumstances should girls pay, it should always be the boy who's paying on a date. And I think that this really promotes a really unequal relationship between girls and boys, because if one person is always giving and the other person's always receiving, then that can never be equal, because the other person never has a chance to give back to the other person. And they really do stress that that's really important to them in dates. But I think this is really promoting a regressive image, and this isn't how relationships should work. Relationships should be equal. They shouldn't be one person always giving back and the other person always receiving. So I definitely took issue with that quote for sure. The next two quotes deal with what girls should look like when they're out in public. And the Jonas Brothers said that they don't understand the I don't care look, the idea that when girls go in public that they should be presentable, and not just presentable, but they should also be, they're there to be looked at, they're there to be an accessory almost, to kind of the boys that they're with. And a lot of girls, as they're like reading these comments, they really want to, they really like the Jonas Brothers. They want to, I guess, they want to do what the Jonas Brothers want them to do, and I think that they'll take that comment to heart and they'll really start to consider what they're wearing in public and consider how they look to boys. And this is definitely not something that I think people should, or young girls should be thinking about. They shouldn't be thinking about how they can dress up for boys in public. They should be focusing on other things. So I think that the Jonas Brothers really didn't consider that when they said that, and I think that parents should probably be looking at these things that the Jonas Brothers are saying and discussing it with their kids and discussing why this is not a positive thing for kids to be hearing. The comment I took most offense with was the comment about Victoria Beckham being the ideal woman, or the perfect woman, or having the perfect body. Even the interviewer that I read the article from Heat World magazine, talked about how he was concerned if people thought that Victoria Beckham, with her fake breasts and her extremely sick, thin body, was the perfect woman. This is definitely not something that girls at a young age should be aspiring to. This isn't something that they need to hear, is what the perfect woman looks like, because as they're growing up, they're going to be questioning what the ideal woman looks like, and they'll have this idea in their mind that it's Victoria Beckham. So I think that that's something I definitely took issue with the Jonas Brothers for sure. So I think that a lot of parents need to look into these things the Jonas Brothers are saying.
You warned me that you were gonna leave. Never thought you would realize